United, shall we? Ruben Amorim addressed the fans after the game. You can tell what makes him a good coach just by that speech, actually, because it's kind of powerful, wasn't it, what he was saying, very honest. He addressed the fans after the game. He told them that the disastrous season is over, the good times are coming. Stephen, from what we saw yesterday, do you believe him?
I'm still on the fence, but we're going to have a little look at what they did yesterday and what they did well against Aston Villa. And I think that is all we can look at for now. But I think I understand what he's saying and what he's talking about. I think there's a lot of work to be done. This is an interesting case here because you've got there Ahmed, who's your high winger, and he's in that sort of deeper position. Bruno Fernandes finds himself higher up. So now you've got to get numbers into the box. You've got one player in the box and then you've got one person arriving. But this has to be better. You've got to get more players into that area. Mason Mount does very well. He's great at timing his run into that area and making sure he gets on the end of things. He's very unlucky with this situation. But you've got to flood the penalty area. So look at the edge of the box now. Your two players, they're hanging off on the edge of the box. You've got two players in the middle. Yes, they get a header in, but there has to be more. You've got to make sure that you're flooding men into the box, or this is the pullback. If that's what you're working on, Mason Mount, again, should do better in that situation. So there's certainly things to be worked on with this system with Manchester United. I feel like they play it quite negatively. I think they can improve on this system if they are to continue playing this way. But they certainly created enough opportunities yesterday within the game to win it. This is what I like as well. Forward pressing, high up the pitch, but this is just the touch gets away from him, but now he's got a couple of options to pick out. I actually think Mason Mount is the better pass here rather than trying to square it to Højlund. It's a bit more of a difficult pass, but I just think with this guy, Bruno Fernandes, out of possession, I think he has his faults, but in possession, the quality that he has to pick out the two players in the top corner there, that quality of ball, and then Ahmed with the finish, who's been a miss for them at times this season. Manchester United, but are certainly a lot to improve on. You don't finish that low in the league without having to improve. Yeah.
Is it as simple as they would have been much better if they'd had a goal scorer in form scoring?
I don't think it's that simplistic. I think they probably need to improve in a few areas, but of course that certainly would have made them a better side. There's been so many games this season where we've said the opportunities were maybe there, they just didn't take them, they weren't clinical enough in front of goal. Even yesterday in that first half, I thought they were the better side. They played with the pressure off, created opportunities, just didn't really take those chances. They obviously got the goals in the end, but I do think there's certain areas that Ruben Amorim needs to strengthen to play the way that he wants to play. So it's going to be more difficult now without Champions League football. They're going to have to offload to bring in the players that he wants to bring in. So yeah, it makes it that little bit more difficult. But of course, if you had had a top quality goal scorer that was clinical, I'm sure they would have been in a better position.
Well, let's pick up on that because there's now a bigger hole in their budget post the Europa League final. Yeah. Bruno Fernandes has sort of come out and going, well, if they want the money, I'll go. Do you think he will? What else will this summer hold?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting one with Bruno Fernandes because from an attacking point of view, he's been the best player, he's been the most creative, he's been outstanding on the ball. But does he almost let Manchester United down in the system, in the way that they play? Because tactically he switches off at times out of possession. I think if you're an opposition player or an opposition manager, you can look at Bruno and think his pressing's not great, or you can get beyond him, you can run off the back of him. So from that stance, I'm a bit torn as to where you are with Bruno, but can they afford to lose someone of his quality? You talked there about would they be better off with a striker? Where would they be without him? What would that Manchester United look like now without him? That's real danger. So it's a real tricky situation for United because yes, they need to raise capital, but what do you raise it for? Because who's going to replace that? It's going to cost you a lot of money to replace that quality. But then again, when I go back to that, do you buy someone for the system that will create a better foundation, harder to play against, but also more suitable to that centre midfield role or higher up wherever he plays? So I wouldn't sell him if I was Man United, because I don't think you can afford to sell him because of the quality that he's got. I think if it was me personally and I was the manager, I'd play him higher up the pitch and give him less responsibility. I don't think that centre midfield position in a 2 suits him at all.
Okay, Newcastle lose their...
For Man United, the breaking news is here, guys. It's a story I've been telling you since April. Then, 1 week ago, Monday, last week, I told you that Mateus Cunha was going to accept Manchester United. Mateus Cunha was going to say yes to Manchester United project, regardless of what happened in Europa League with Tottenham. Man United lost, but the situation remains the same. And now, guys, I can tell you, at this time of the night, Mateus Cunha to Manchester United is a here we go. The deal is agreed between Man United and Mateus Cunha. This week is going to be time to exchange all the documents and then sign the contract. So the moment is a verbal agreement, but the agreement is done. 1 week ago was done with the player. Now everything clarified. 5-year contract with an option for further season. So 2030 plus 1, that's the agreement. Mateus Cunha accepted the project, really tempted by the possibility to play for Manchester United, already had a contact with Ruben Amorim, so Cunha is ready for this move. And Manchester United also made first contact with Wolves to agree on the package of the compensation. The value will be the one of the release clause, £62.5 million paid in installments. So Man United and Wolves will close everything this week. Cunha already said yes to every single detail of the proposal. This week we will enter into the formal steps, and then Mateus Cunha will become the first signing of the summer transfer window for Manchester United. So an important story. Cunha is gonna be a Man United player. Not surprising if you're following the channel, if you're following all the latest. But important to mention that today Cunha will be a Manchester United player. Then, guys, we are entering into crucial days also for Liverpool, an important week, because in the next hours, Monday, Tuesday, Liverpool and Bayer Leverkusen will be in direct contact again as they did on Saturday. Then Sunday, Liverpool focused on the title celebration at Anfield, of course, but from Monday, again, club to club talks. The official bid formal is coming, so everything is ready to advance on the Florian Wirtz deal between Liverpool and Bayer Leverkusen. You know, the agreement is done with the player. I have tons of messages from Liverpool fans asking me how it's going. Don't worry, it's going very well in terms of conversation. Now it's time to close the deal, but advancing very well. A story I released on Sunday morning, also Milos Kerkez, because Frimpong is here we go to Liverpool, 35 million euros release clause. Florian Wirtz, conversations advancing between clubs and agreement done with the player, and then Milos Kerkez. My information, guys, is that Kerkez already has an agreement on personal terms.